Bitcoin hits another all-time high today, and ETFs continue their relentless buying pressure. But why are all the Bitcoiners bored? Plus, in a shocking twist of events, Janet Yellen says that she regrets calling inflation transitory. And Peter Schiff finally admits that he's not a Bitcoin hater. He just regrets not buying it back in 2010. Also, we go over all of the ways that Bitcoin is a threat to the massive wealth management industry. And this bull market is just taking off. We take a look at some price predictions to see just how high Bitcoin could go. You're not going to want to miss this episode. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bitcoin Daily Show. I'm Dante Cook, head of Swan Business. Oh my goodness. In old news, Bitcoin hits another all-time high at $73,500. And Bitcoiners are sort of emotionless, like this dude here on the roller coaster. A major contributor to that was the continued relentless buying pressure from the ETFs. Over the last few weeks, we've seen that when the price crashes, it's immediately bought up, and it looks like a V-shaped recovery almost every time. BlackRock had over $850 million of inflows yesterday alone. But the reason that the ETFs broke $1 billion in net inflows yesterday was the news that we announced yesterday, that Grayscale was launching the Grayscale Mini Bitcoin Trust with the ticker BTC, which caused outflows from the GBTC to go down by almost 80% to $80 million yesterday. Not saying that we called this, but we called it. That's why you should subscribe to the Swan YouTube channel and watch the Bitcoin Daily Show. We're giving you the best news in Bitcoin and insider information before anywhere else in the market. And you're getting it in a fun, entertaining, and concise way. And as always, if you have questions about Bitcoin, whether you're a beginner or you're someone that's trying to figure out how to export a JSON file from a cold card, send me an email at daily@swanbitcoin.com, and I personally will respond to you and get you the help and advice that you need. Unlike Bitcoin hitting another all-time high, what was actually surprising was that Janet Yellen came on live television and regretted calling inflation transitory.
It takes a while for that to filter into the CPI, and so I have every expectation that the single largest contributor to it, to inflation, is going to be moving down over this year.
And that will bring the rest of it with it. So in 2021, you did say that inflation was transitory. Do you regret saying that now?
I regret saying it was transitory. It has come down, but I think transitory means a few weeks or months to most people.
You know who also said he had regrets? Our buddy Peter Schiff. He's finally starting to show his cards that he doesn't actually hate Bitcoin. Like a lot of people, we heard about it a long time ago and didn't buy it.
If you had a time machine, you could go back in time and buy Bitcoin 10 years ago. Would you do it?
Of course. I mean, I'm not an idiot. Well, but of course, look, yes, do I regret? I mean, I remember when I was sitting at my desk and a guy working with me on my campaign, they were showing me Bitcoin. And the guy was like, look, just buy some. What the hell? And I looked at it, and I don't remember if it was under $1 or over $1, because I can't remember. But I remember it was like 2010. And I remember I thought about it. Yeah, I could throw 10 grand in it, 50 grand. I don't know. I thought about it. And I didn't do it. I was like, this is ridiculous. But what am I went away from it. But I thought about it. I thought about all the odds, and I didn't see this kind of bubble potential. I mean, I thought, yeah, maybe it could go up, but I just didn't want to deal with it. Now, obviously, do I wish I had made a decision to have thrown 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand into it? Sure, yeah. It'd be worth hundreds of millions, assuming I didn't sell. I don't know what I would have done if I had bought it. But yeah, clearly, I wish I'd have bought it.
If you watch the full clip or the full interview, one thing is clearly apparent from Peter Schiff. Like most financial advisors, he doesn't recommend Bitcoin because it's bad for business for him, and he doesn't make commissions or get fees on the assets under management for recommending Bitcoin. So they don't do it. But the next time your advisor says that you shouldn't buy Bitcoin, send them this chart and have them explain why you shouldn't own Bitcoin. When you compare the performance of Bitcoin to the S&P 500 or even gold, it's clear that Bitcoin is the clear winner. So why would they not allow you to buy this for your portfolio? Here's a sneak peek from a snippet of an interview that we did with a financial advisor that we send out in our Swan Private Insight. Our Swan Private Insight is exclusive content that you won't see anywhere else in the industry. It's a 60 to 80 page report that we send out monthly to our high net worth investors. But this week, you're getting it for free. Here's what we asked a partner of a wealth advisory firm. Is Bitcoin a threat to the wealth management industry? Here's what they had to say. I believe Bitcoin is a massive threat to the wealth management industry. Much, if not most, of the wealth management industry exists because our currency bleeds value over time. As a result, in order to protect themselves from monetary dilution, would-be savers are forced to figure out the complexities of the securities markets on their own, or to hire someone to help them. If you look at the data and the numbers, it's clear that if you're someone in the middle class who's been working hard, who's been saving, but storing their wealth in fiat currencies, you've been losing over time. Michael Saylor makes this point in an interview that he did yesterday.
New York City is the end game for people that want to live in the greatest city in North America. Bitcoin is the end game for anybody that wants to own the greatest property in the 21st century.
Well, I guess that is the case, but is there a price at which you would consider selling some of the Bitcoin, pulling out? So, I mean, because you can do something with New York City. You can live in New York City. You can have a business in New York City. What do you do with the Bitcoin besides it just gather value?
Well, the real estate developers in New York City, they're not buying the real estate because they want to live in it. They're buying the real estate because they expect
because
that
they
it's
want
going
to
to
sell it
become more
eventually,
desirable.
Michael. I mean, let's be honest. Most of the people who are, yes, sure, some people pass it on to their children, but most of the people who are buying assets at some point want to sell the assets at a profit. So
let me say it a different way.
Okay.
People that use fiat currency as a store of value, there's a name for them. We call them poor. Okay. Anybody that's rich in the world, they own property. You're going to see the Bitcoin network go from $1 trillion network to a 10x that to 100x that. And there really is nowhere else to go. It is the apex property of the human race.
The purchasing power of the dollar has been cut in half over the last 30 years due to inflation. And at the same time, the S&P 500 has gained 840%, or roughly 8% a year, which is adjusted for inflation. So was it the fact that the S&P 500 grew 8% a year, or the companies that made up the S&P 500 grew 8% a year? Or was it that the money supply expanded by 8% for all of those years? This provides a backdrop to why financial services is the #1 industry in export for the United States. And why is that? Well, it's because our financial system is broken at its core. And why is our financial system broken? It's because the money is broken at its core. The 1%ers now control more wealth than the entire middle class. And when you look back at history, when that happens, you tend to get populism. According to analyst Charlie Bilello, not only is government printing leading to runaway asset prices, which is separating the haves from the have-nots, or the wealthy from the poor, it's also creating a situation where our interest payments and entitlements are things that we can actually never repay. Interest payments on U.S. debt alone are soon going to surpass military spending for the first time ever. Take a look at this chart. It took 63% of all income taxes in February to just pay interest on the debt. This isn't paying for education, schools, military, or our terrible roads. Just interest. If you look at the top issues that people are voting for this year in the upcoming election, it's clear that people sense that there's a whole range of systems that are broken and are top issues for them. Again, it doesn't matter which party you vote for or what issues you're voting for. They are all sitting on top of a broken money. As a former Division I college football player, this interview from Nick Sabin saddens me because it shows me that the corruption of fiat currency and broken money are having an impact on college football.
All the things that I believed in for all these years, 50 years of coaching, no longer exist in college athletics. So it's always was about developing players. It was always about helping people be more successful in life. My wife even said to me, we'd have all the recruits over on Sunday with their parents for breakfast, and she would always meet with the mothers and talk about how she was going to help and impact their sons and how they would be well taken care of. And she came to me, like right before I retired and said, why are we doing this? And I said, what do you mean? She said, all they care about is how much you're going to pay them. They don't care about how you're going to develop them, which is all what we've always done. So why are we doing this? So, to me, that was sort of a red alert that we really are creating a circumstance here that is not beneficial to the development of young people. Rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer. And eventually the fans will look at it like, I really don't want to watch this game.
There's only one viable candidate to get us out of this mess right now. And it's not Democratic or Republican. It's Bitcoin. According to Bitcoin analyst Dylan LeClaire, who was on Charles Payne's Fox Business Show today, we are just now getting started with the Bitcoin bull run. If you take a quick look at this chart, he looks at Bitcoin's price as it relates to the 30-day price change of Bitcoin historically, and what you can see is when Bitcoin enters the green zone, that is the beginning of a bull market run. And as you can see, we're just now hitting that green mark. How high can we go? Samson Mao, in a recent interview with Peter McCormick on his show What Bitcoin Did, says that we can go to $1 million a coin this year.
But I think that threshold, the Veblen threshold, is where you start to see Apple moving. Because for a lot of people that are new to Bitcoin, it's hard to understand when you should go in. But when you overtake gold, psychologically, you've crossed the barrier that this is the new gold.
Yeah.
So like we talked about earlier, retail's not here yet because it's not high enough yet, right? So you get it. You get it implicitly. It's not high enough. But at 0.1 M, it's high enough.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So $1 million potentially this year.
It's looking like it, and it's not impossible. You're already seeing Omega candles in other markets, like in Egypt, in Turkey.
Egypt was 50% yesterday, wasn't it?
It was like 11 Omega candles. It went up like 1 million Egyptian pounds.
Because I think they devalued. Did they devalue the currency yesterday? Did they halve it?
Something like that. But,
ridiculous.
They saw a $1.4 million candle for the day.
Jesus.
But in Turkey, you're already seeing like regularly 2 Omega candles. That's why Omega candles are great. It's like a good measuring stick for what we're going to see in main Bitcoin, the dollar Bitcoin, dollar-denominated Bitcoin.
Jesus, man.
With retail not even FOMOing in yet, with institutions coming now, and the ETFs gobbling up Bitcoin faster than this cow eating PB&Js, I think we've got a whole lot further to run. Where do you think Bitcoin's price goes next as we start this bull run? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And with that, we're signing off for the day. I'm Dante Cook with Swan.com. Happy stacking.